Hi everyone, and welcome to today's presentation, which, as you can see here, is 4 shifts to getting your goddess body. How to rebalance your hormones, lose the weight, and reclaim your body. Now, today's webinar is going to be a little bit different from what you're probably used to. I don't like to have a lot of fluff up front in the beginning, so we're just going to get right into the good stuff. My name is Erica L. Robinson. I hold a Doctor of Naturopathy degree, and I'm a registered holistic nutritionist. I'm going to be telling you a little bit about myself later on, but from the beginning, I hope you'll forgive me if we dispense with the fluff and dive right into the good stuff to how you can lose weight for the upcoming summer season. And really, today we're going to talk about how I got from the picture you see on the left to the picture you see on the right in only 40 days. So I went from losing 25 pounds, I went from a size 8 to a size 4, literally half. I lost 8% body fat, and I was able to develop a system in my clinical practice that now helps dozens and dozens of women in person and online around the world to lose weight in the same way that I did, so that they can get results like you see in this picture. So this stuff works. The proof is in the pudding, right? You can see it right here. And I'm going to be sharing with you how I created this result. And before we really dive in, I just want to make sure that we're all in the right place and all on the same page. So here's who this webinar is for today. This is for women wanting to lose 15 pounds or more. If you're part of that club where you're like, I have the last 10 pounds to go, this still applies to you. I'm just going to tell you from a frank and honest clinical perspective, you probably need to lose more like 15 pounds. Time and time again, I see that in practice. The results most women are looking for visually are not just 10 pounds away, but usually more like 15. If you're in that ballpark, this applies to you, but equally, if you're over 100 pounds overweight, this still applies to you. And here's the caveat of who this is for. Women for whom exercise and nutrition just aren't working. You're trying different things, you've put the effort into different programs, but nothing's working, or you can't keep the weight off afterwards. So here's what we're going to be talking about in the next 60 minutes together. We're going to be going through how to lose that stubborn extra 15 pounds or more in 6 weeks or less without exercising like crazy or starving yourself to death. And we're going to cover how to get your goddess body even if that's never been within your reach before. We're going to talk about how to finally get your energy back all day long and beat the afternoon crash without caffeine or sugar, and really be able to be more productive at work and home so that you get your free time back. And we're going to talk about how to get rid of fat pockets that just won't budge. So those stubborn, unsightly areas that you just feel gross about, you lack confidence about, whether it's like the tummy rolls, the rolls under the bum, inner thigh fat, outer thigh fat, bingo arms, that kind of thing. Those are the types of areas that even when women lose weight, they will still hold on to fat there. So if you're struggling with that, you're in the right place. And really, it's all about how do we look and feel like a queen in all aspects of our life? How do we get the goddess body that allows us to feel that way? My biggest promise to you is that you're going to learn how to rebalance your hormones and maintain them so that you finally lose the weight for good. So if it hasn't all made sense yet when I'm talking about energy and weight loss and these unsightly fat storage sites, that's all linked to your hormones, which is what we're going to be getting into today. Now, I want you to know there's nothing for sale on this webinar, but I do have a really cool free gift for you, and it's a copy of the notes from today's presentation. So I normally never give these away, but I'm going to email them to you if you stick with me to the end. And that way you don't have to frantically take notes. You can just be present and listen and take in and soak in all the information from today's presentation. And really, before we dive deeper, I want to check if this sounds like you. Have you been trying to lose weight unsuccessfully for years? Have you already tried multiple weight loss options, none of which work, or the results never last? Or maybe you even gain more weight afterwards. Or here's another one, maybe it does work, but it's so painstakingly slow, you're losing like a half a pound a month, even though you're being super strict. Are you confined now to stretchy black yoga clothes or clothes you don't enjoy because you don't fit into your old clothes that you like anymore? Maybe you're afraid to go shopping because you'll have to admit you're another size larger. Are you feeling frustrated and depressed by your weight and your unresponsive body? Does it almost feel like you don't know or understand your own body, or your body is against you? And does your weight impact things like your sex life or your marriage or your dating life? We get a lot of women who are single, either single moms or single women, that are afraid to date because of their weight, or they're afraid to have intercourse with their husbands because of their weight. So is that happening for you? Does your weight impact how confident you feel in your career or community? Do you sometimes feel held back because of your weight, held back in meeting new people or speaking publicly, or even asking for a promotion? Does your weight impact you as a parent or in your family life? You know what I mean? Like, do you feel like you don't give a good example to your children because you're trying to tell them to eat healthy, and you do too, but meanwhile you're still overweight? Maybe you don't even have energy to do events with your family in the way you want to. Are you able to follow protocols perfectly and eat well, yet see zero change after weeks on end? You know, or like do Jenny Craig perfectly and lose like a half a pound, or Weight Watchers perfectly and lose like a half a pound in a month? If that's happening for you, you're in the right spot. And here's my biggest question for you. Do you secretly feel like your body is broken and things will never change? As if your weight is simply beyond what you have the time and capacity to actually do something about. Really, the point is, and what I'm trying to bring to your attention, is that women's hormones wire us to be more connected mentally and emotionally. We know that women have a thicker corpus callosum, which is the part of the brain that joins the right and left hemispheres. So we have more holistic ways of thinking and living traditionally, biologically speaking, than men do. Therefore, being overweight can impact us as women in far-reaching ways in our lives. Not just physically, not just with your health, but also mentally and emotionally, which is why I'm asking you these questions to really get to the root of how and where is this impacting you in your life. And now, likewise, our weight loss for women like us that have stubborn fat, particularly the stubborn weight, is due to these hormones being out of balance. Whether you know it or not, whether it's been diagnosed or not, whether it's subclinical or actually a clinical imbalance or not. Well, you know what? What I want to get to is, if this is how you feel, I do have good news for you. It's that none of those things are the real problem. The real problem is you haven't learned what I call the shifts for women's holistic weight loss. And I want you to get that once you do understand these shifts that I'm going to be sharing with you today. Once you make it, you're going to be able to finally and easily shed that extra 15 to 40 pounds or more in only 6 weeks. We've seen women who rebalance their hormones and lose 40 to 50 pounds in a 6-week slot, which I'll be talking more about as we go through this. You're also going to learn how to reset your hormones and reprogram how your body uses and stores fat. So no more storing in those unsightly areas that build up and look unnatural and unflattering. And you're going to be in total control of your weight and your physique and how you look, and never have to worry about your weight again, because you'll have the tools to maintain it. I'm not saying life doesn't throw curveballs at you, but you will have something in your back pocket to know how to deal with it and stay in control for the first time, and not feel like your body is this unresponsive alien vehicle that doesn't lose weight even when you exercise or eat well. Now, if there's one thing that you need to know before we proceed, it's that there are 4 simple shifts you need to make to finally lose the weight and unlock your dream body. And I'm going to walk you through exactly how to master those 4 shifts today. Now, before we get further ahead, I'm going to introduce you like I told you that I would. This is a picture of me right there, and you can see me right here on camera. I'm in my office today. I am Erica L. Robinson. I am a hormonal health expert specializing in weight loss. So I hold a Doctor of Naturopathy degree from the Canadian College of Naturopathic Medicine in Toronto, and I'm also a registered holistic nutritionist. I've been working clinically for serving over 1,000 clients across the past 10 years. So I've worked at a hospital and 11 different interdisciplinary clinics in this time frame, serving people from a holistic standpoint. I've also been featured on various TV shows in Toronto, and I even got to host one called Health Matters. And you might have seen me in the documentary called The Wellness Story. And I'm the founder. I'm the founder of Divine Life, which is the company that I'm using to put on this webinar. And I'm the founder and creator of the Goddess Body program, which I developed when I discovered these 4 shifts. And, you know, that's my credentials, that's who I am, but I also want to share my real journey with you, which is that I too struggled with my weight. This isn't just me being a healthcare practitioner and then coming up with something. This is something that I struggled with for 4 years after I had my daughter Alice. So that's a picture of her that you can see. She's like 5 months old there, but now she's almost 6, which I can't believe. And after I had her, I struggled with excess weight for 4 years. It would later turn out, I actually went through menopause, just so you know, and it would later turn out to be discovered that I have an adrenal condition I was born with that I never got diagnosed until I was 30 years of age. And that hormonal imbalance that it created, especially after I had her, is what really got me interested in utilizing my hormonal knowledge for weight loss. Prior to that, I've been a fertility expert in helping women get pregnant, but I decided to turn my superpowers in on my own journey. And really, this is the picture that I showed you at the start, right? After suffering for 4 years, and I mean trying pretty much everything. I hired a trainer for 3 times a week for a year. I tried keto, I tried paleo, I tried intermittent fasting, I tried vegetarianism. I tried so many things and nothing worked until I discovered these 4 shifts. And that's what I'm going to share with you today. And it's astonishing how a 4-year struggle could be undone in under 6 weeks when I got this right. And so let's talk about that. How did I discover these 4 shifts? How did this come about? At the time, I'd been working in healthcare for 8 years. And what I started noticing, I was working at an anti-aging clinic where they featured a weight loss program. And I started analyzing the women that were coming into the clinic and seeing the ones that got success and the ones that didn't. So, and these were not my patients. I was doing other things with respect to fertility, but I decided to start analyzing what my colleagues were going through, and we did have some shared patients, and it seemed like there were 2 groups. On the one side, there was this group with hit or miss results. So, you know, sometimes it worked out, sometimes they lost the weight, but in most cases they didn't. They didn't really get the results they wanted. They would feel kind of famished, they would feel gross, sickly, they wouldn't lose fat from where they wanted it to come off of. And they suffered a lot, and they had a lot of issues with self-sabotage, with cravings, with hunger, just a really, really difficult time for them. And then when I looked at the other group of women coming out, the successful group, these women were coming out like brand new people, okay? Other people in their life couldn't stop telling them how different they looked, how they were glowing, how vital they looked, how vibrant they looked, how much weight they had lost, you know? I also noticed they started dressing completely differently. So they would go from being in all black, a slimming color, right, to being in bright colors, looking vivacious, and just having this zest for life. And now what was different about that second group was that they made only these 4 shifts. When it came down to it, when I analyzed it, when I pulled up different cases from all of my colleagues that I was interacting with, it was just these 4 things that got the results of these women, and that inspired me to take the shifts on to get the results you just saw in my last picture. So again, just to bring this full circle, there are 4 key shifts you must master to lose the weight once and for all, and to be like that successful group of women, which we know, statistically speaking, makes up between 2 to 5% of all people who do a weight loss program. Only 2 to 5% are successful with it and maintain the loss. And I'm going to walk you through all 4 of those shifts on today's presentation. So let's get started. So the first shift to losing weight is one of reclaiming your power. And I know this might sound super weird as a beginning place in a webinar about hormones, but it actually has everything to do with your weight and your health. because the mindset piece is what most programs completely lack and what most women lack, and that's why they're not successful. So when I say reclaiming your power, I mean your capacity to do something about the situation, which is also known as response ability, your ability to respond. And really, reclaiming your power comes down to these things. It's realizing that you have the ability to respond, even though you might feel like your body is currently out of your control. But also realizing that this situation was unintentionally created by a lack of integrity in your health. So right now it might feel like your body is against you, but I actually want to illustrate for you that you created this situation originally and you created the divide. Probably unintentionally, because I'm guessing you didn't want to do that, and we're going to walk through how that happened. But because you did it, you actually have the full power to undo it, and that's what I'm sharing with you today. And I want you to realize that for women, emotional health is so intricately tied to hormonal health and therefore your weight. If your emotions are running amok, it's really going to affect your hormonal flow, and that's really going to affect how difficult or how easy it is for you to lose weight. Now, there's a prominent bariatric surgery center in Florida that says the first step in a successful weight loss program is to take responsibility for your health and weight. Now, if you find yourself blaming others for your circumstances, making excuses, or you have an inability to let go of food as a coping strategy, these are all signs that you aren't yet taking responsibility and reclaiming your power yet. And I can tell you from personal experience of me myself being stuck in that victim mode, it feels completely hopeless and like a downward spiral. So if you're feeling those feelings, it's good because we can see this is exactly where you're trapped. And now you have the opportunity to move beyond that. And I think part of the reason why this happens to women like us is because we go through the gamut of trying so many things with respect to our weight, and they still fail us. Even though we put in a solid, 100% perfect effort for like a few weeks or even a month, we still don't get the result we want. And I'm going to talk about why that happens in a second. But because that's happened to us, we become cynical, jaded, and we get stuck in victim mode. And our weight occurs like it just happened to us and feels like there's nothing we can do about it. I mean, there's absolutely nothing more disempowering than trying your hardest at an exercise program or a weight loss or nutrition program and not seeing any result at all. Now, I want to see where in the first place we might have created a hormonal imbalance in your life, because a lot of people don't realize that your hormones are something you interact with on a daily basis via the actions that you take. So questions for you, and I want you to go through this mentally in your head. Do you only eat when you're hungry, or do you find yourself also eating for emotional reasons like stress, boredom, or because maybe you're at an event and you just feel like you should be eating? Or you don't want to talk to people, so you're going to distract yourself with food. Do you focus on the 80-20 rule? Do you eat 80% nutritious foods that build your body and your health back up, and 20% treat foods that can sometimes also have toxic effects on the body? Do you adhere to that? Are you able to get ample sleep in a pitch black room and avoid electronics and screen time before bed? Are you able to manage stress, such as reducing stress that doesn't need to be there, or de-stressing whenever you can? And are you engaging in physical activities such as doing weight training 3 days a week and high intensity interval training 3 days a week, and lots of low grade activity like walking on a daily basis? And lastly, do you spend some time each year supporting your organs of detoxification? So think about that list. So that list that we just went through, it shows the many ways and places where we as women actually create our own hormonal imbalances. And research shows that these imbalances are what then make it difficult to lose weight through normal means of diet and exercise. So we no longer respond normally to the whole calories in, calories out equation, which is already BS to begin with, but even more so when your hormones are in this space. Now, some women are affected from a young age by hormonal misfunctioning, and that could be due to things like eating and drinking out of plastics as a child. A lot of women, though, they'll have strategies that work for weight loss until they hit like late 20s, 30s, maybe even 40s, and they say, my body's just not responding the same anymore. And that's because you've spent, 10, 20, maybe 30 or 40 years now disrupting your hormonal flow, and it's not working the same. So you're not responding to diet and exercise the way that you used to because your hormones have run amok. Now, this should actually illuminate things for you and make you feel like you're not crazy. There is a hormonal imbalance at play that's blocking you from getting the results you want. And the good news is you don't have to go and correct that entire list that I just shared with you to get the result you want. Lord knows it would have taken me, and it's still taking me, like 2-3 years to get all that stuff in order. But yet I was still able to take off all that weight in only 6 weeks. So stick with me because I'm going to explain that. Now, one more concept that I want to share with you, which it seems pretty straightforward when you say it out loud, is that ineffective actions lead to ineffective results. And I just want to say this because I see these women that are completely burnt out from trying a million different approaches to the point that they're throwing in the towel and they're saying, nothing's going to work for me. But really, they're just taking the wrong actions again and again and again and expecting a good outcome, which, as we know, is the definition of insanity. Am I right? So you want to look at what kind of actions have you been taking, because if you're just doing a caloric deficit or a nutrition plan or exercise, none of those things address hormonal imbalances. So you're trying to lose weight in a way that maybe would work when you were a teenager, or maybe would work more appropriately for men, but you aren't actually taking the right action to rebalance your hormones so that you can lose the weight the way that you want to. And now the other thing that I see that I made a note about here is that women then make it mean that they're like this unique snowflake who's completely deranged physiologically and like no one else in the world has their problems. But I want to tell you, after speaking with hundreds of women and working with hundreds of women, by no means are we unique at all. We're actually have a lot in common with each other in that our hormones don't let us lose weight. I promise you though, it's actually really, really simple at the level of biochemistry. And there's no escaping cause and effect in biochemistry, right? Unless you're taking the right action, you're not going to get the right result. So that brings us to sum up this point, which is all about reclaiming your power. So really understanding that the power is within you to reclaim this. Something you did in the past, or something you're still doing, has caused a hormonal imbalance in your body. And that imbalance is now making it challenging to lose weight via nutrition and exercise alone. This brings us to our second shift, which is embracing true hunger. I'm going to explain what the heck that means. I'm going to say something bold here too, which is that the number one reason many of us are struggling with our weight in the first place is because we lack emotional autonomy from food, and our hunger cues have been completely derailed. So let me explain. We don't eat because we're truly hungry in this day and age. We eat because we're addicted to our foods. We eat because we're emotional and we're using food as a crutch, whether we consciously know this or not. We eat because our blood sugar is crashing and we haven't taught ourselves how to regulate our blood sugar using fat instead. We're eating diets that are much too high in carbohydrates. And we eat because we're toxic. Our toxin level is so high that if we go without food for a few hours and our body starts to actually detoxify, it feels so uncomfortable that we have to reach for food to break that process. And our hormones are messed up and our brain is resistant to them, so it can't tell when we're actually full. You probably don't even remember what true hunger feels like, and I want to tell you that I know I didn't. And when I went through my 6-week journey, I was shocked. I was shocked at how little food I actually needed to feel full once my leptin, my fullness hormone, was working again. Now, health researcher and weight loss expert Robin Woodall says that we've developed a false confidence that is reliant on the crutch of food, and that we've actually weakened our innate self-esteem and our tolerance for life's daily stresses, life's normal stresses. And we don't realize we actually have formed addictions to our food, nor do we realize those addictions to food actually cause us sadness and discontent at a core level, and unhappiness. Because on that subconscious level, we know that we don't know how to cope with life without the use of food as a drug, food as a pacifying agent. Now, this is really powerful stuff. Whether you consciously know it or not, this is how your body processes the event that I can't get through life without a caramel macchiato, or I can't get through life without binging on the weekends as my reward. Now, anytime that you eat when you aren't truly hungry, which is all those examples I just gave, it's gonna mess up the master weight loss hormone, leptin. Now, leptin, when that gets messed up, when it gets dysregulated, it creates super fat, which is like this disgusting fat that gets stored in these fat pockets. So those really unsightly places that are not normal fat storage sites, and they look gross and unattractive. Not only that, not only is this affecting us from a vanity standpoint, but more importantly, it contributes to all major diseases. So that includes cancer, heart disease, diabetes, while also negatively impacting your organs like your liver, your gallbladder, your thyroid, your pancreas, and your ovaries. So if I could impart only one shift on you today, it would be to start to pay attention to true hunger and only eating when you feel it, because it could literally save your life. We weren't designed to be in this state of constant overconsumption, and hormonally it derails us and it puts us at risk both of major diseases as well as gaining stubborn, unsightly, hard to lose weight. So true hunger would be not those times. True hunger would be eating to nourish your physical body because you need food and you feel actually hungry in your stomach, in your mouth, in your throat. So not eating because you're emotional or stressed or bored. So I have a case study of a client named Tanya for whom emotional eating was undermining her. Now, she was using emotional eating to cope with stress. And when she showed up to work with me, she had set this goal to lose 25 pounds. And she'd been working on this for years. She was in her early 40s. She was eating 900 calories a day. And she was working out at the gym 5 to 7 days a week for an hour. And nothing was budging. So you can imagine she felt miserable, right? Hardly eating anything, watching her relatives eat so much more food than her and enjoy life. Meanwhile, she's struggling and not going anywhere with it. For her, we identified that emotional eating was a huge culprit because even though she would stay within her caloric guidelines at times, she would flare out of it and binge eat because of her stress. Now, we really worked on this, and I'll put what she says here. This is like the very beginning of the program for her. She says she's lost 9.5 pounds. She doesn't include the 2.5 pounds she gained and lost from fat loading days. So truly she lost 11 pounds at this point. And she's impatiently waiting to hit that 10-pound mark. But she's loving the fit of her clothes, hoping for 14 more pounds, and then going shopping. To this day, she's actually lost 30 pounds and she feels phenomenal. This was over a year ago, and she definitely went on a major shopping spree and is so much happier now. So to sum up this shift, it's all about embracing true hunger. So learning to eat and to really trust your body's intuition to guide you when it's actually hungry. Not eating because your physiology is messed up, because you're toxic, because you're emotional. Now, you might need to clean some of that stuff up by working with a professional, which I will get to in a moment. But the important thing is especially avoiding emotional eating, okay? Now, this brings us to our third shift, which is to use the secret weapon. This is big, you guys. This is really big, and this is a game changer for people. However, it won't work unless you've taken on the other two shifts that I just mentioned. It's gonna do zero good for anyone, and I wanna tell you, when I talk about those two groups of women in the clinic, the first group of women just used the secret weapon and nothing else. And believe me, they failed miserably and they gained any weight they lost back and then some. So you gotta get that this shift happens inside of the other two that we just mentioned and the fourth one that I'm gonna share with you. So what is the secret weapon? What am I keeping from you? The secret weapon is called HCG. And in order to explain it best, I'm actually gonna switch over now and show you a clip from a webinar I gave in 2016, which explains the science of how this works in great detail. Use the secret weapon. Did you know that 83% of dieters gain back more weight than they lost within 6 months of stopping a diet? That's because diets actually lower your metabolism. So when you go back to eating normal foods and normal calories, you start packing the weight back on and then some. This is where I want to share the secret weapon with you and tell you that dieting is not the answer. So what is the secret weapon? It's HCG, which stands for human chorionic gonadotropin, used as a supplement. Now, based on research by Robin Woodall, who I mentioned earlier, and countless other innovative researchers and clinicians, it's been found that this natural glycoprotein released in pregnancy actually reprograms the functioning of all of your organs and hormones by impacting leptin, that hormone that we know is responsible for throwing off our weight and creating those unsightly fat pockets. I want you to understand how HCG works so that you get how and why it's so effective. To do that, I first have to let you know how leptin works on its own, that hormone we've been speaking about. So what you guys normally do is you eat food. So say you just ate an apple right now. That food, that apple, is going to go through digestion for the next 24 hours. So you cannot use the apple you just put in your stomach as a source of energy. It's got to be digested, broken down, absorbed, and assimilated. And then by tomorrow, you can use that for fuel. But in the simple act of eating, in response to that act, fat cells will release the hormone leptin. Each cell releases the same amount of leptin in response to a type and amount of food. Therefore, the more fat cells you have, the more leptin is getting released. Now, leptin should do three things. It definitely does two, but I'll explain which one it doesn't do very well anymore. Leptin should, number one, make your fullness mechanism kick in, so you stop eating. Unfortunately, most of us do that emotional eating thing I mentioned, so we actually create what's called leptin resistance, where our body no longer feels full in response to food, and we actually end up overeating to feel full. And in fact, most of us now only stop eating because our stomach is so stretched, which is not the response we should be paying attention to. It should be the leptin kicking in. But like I said, for a lot of us, it doesn't work anymore. The things that leptin does on top of that is it raises metabolism and thyroid functioning. So food is coming into the body, leptin is saying, hey thyroid, hey system, fuel is coming in, let's turn everything on, let's rev up metabolism because we've got food, we've got fuel coming down the pipeline. And number three, leptin opens what are called fat gates in the mitochondria, the energy producing part of your cells. So then stored fat in your body, so anywhere in your body, even the leanest of us have body fat, that fat is going to enter the mitochondria and become fuel. But in the cases where we have this overproduction of leptin because we're overweight, we get an overproduction of fuel. Now, unless you're going to go and run a marathon, you've got too much fuel kicking around. And that excess fuel, this is where the bad stuff happens. It upregulates another hormone called PPAR gamma. And that hormone causes the formation of new fat cells to hold the excess fuel. And those new fat cells show up in the unsexiest of places, and those are the ones really correlated with a high disease risk. Okay, so I know this is a lot to absorb, but this is as meaty as it gets, and you're going to have the notes to look back on too. And this is really the gist of it right here. On that note, because you get that now, I want to share with you why diets fail, okay? So with a diet, what you're doing is you're eating less food. Am I right? It's caloric restriction. And this is any amount less than you're used to eating. Even if it's just a little bit, it's still going to cause this whole cascade. So you're eating less food, the food's going to go through digestion for 24 hours, but in response to less eating, the fat cells release less leptin, which sounds good at first, right? We have too much leptin, isn't that a good thing? But here's where the problem comes in. Number one, the leptin is not enough to make fullness kick in. Now, I said earlier that leptin doesn't work. It still works a bit for most of us. And the problem with the diet is that it's not going to ever kick in, and you're always going to feel hungry on them. That makes it really easy to fall off of your diet. Number two, the leptin is going to fail to raise metabolism and thyroid functioning. So your thyroid actually begins shutting down, and your metabolism comes down.
And number 3, it doesn't open as many fat gates in the mitochondria. That means less stored fat is entering the mitochondria. So you're using up less of your fat. Less of it becomes fuel. And due to the less production of leptin, we overall get less production of fuel. So less fuel means, sure, there's less formation of those scary new fat cells, but also with less fuel, you've got less energy. That means you're going to suffer with lethargy, malaise, and weakness. You're going to start eating your muscles as a source of fuel, which is going to further make your metabolism suffer because muscle tissue is what makes metabolism high. So especially when you come off of the diet, you're going to be in a place where you're going to gain weight back so easily. So this is the starvation response, and it preserves energy. However, it also means that when that diet ends, your metabolism stays low because it's been locked in at a lower level of functioning. Every major diet that I have seen a patient do, and I'm talking about all the big names out there, the trendy diets, the book-based diets, the clinical diets, they always come back with diminished thyroid functioning every time that I test them. And those who already had hypothyroidism or Hashimoto's to begin with have it even worse. Whereas what you're going to see is that when we use the secret weapon of HCG, it actually helps these people begin to heal their thyroid condition because their thyroid is so harmed in the first place from the negative impacts and the inflammation of food-stimulated leptin from overeating. Okay, so now that you guys understand how leptin works and why diets fail, let's talk about how HCG works. Now, normally, leptin is only secreted by fat cells in response to the act of eating, but it was discovered back in the 1920s that the glycoprotein HCG could actually reprogram leptin apart from needing to intake food. Okay, so HCG has been used as a supplement since the early 1900s for a variety of medical conditions, and it was in the 1920s that it was looked at for fat loss. So let's look at this. Basically, when we pair HCG in the system, which is a very safe natural glycoprotein, and we pair it with a reduction in caloric intake, so eating less food, it actually reprograms our leptin to help us start burning fat like crazy and stop storing it, as well as allowing us to permanently reprogram our thyroid and our metabolism to burn more fat. So let's look here. The food is still going to go through digestion for 24 hours. And now, in response, not really to eating, but in response to HCG, the fat cells start to release that leptin. Leptin is going to do those 3 things. It's going to make the fullness kick in very quickly. It's going to raise metabolism and thyroid functioning. And it's going to open those fat gates in the mitochondria. Now, your stored fat is going to begin entering the mitochondria and get turned into that fuel. The thing is, because you're on a caloric reduction, your body actually needs and uses all of that fuel. So fat cells are continuously broken down and digested as a rich source of nutrition. Don't underestimate how much is in those fat cells. Beyond a ton of energy, there's also vitamins, minerals, and amino acids. And what you get is that the weight slips off. Hormones are reprogrammed, metabolism stays high, and muscles are never broken down. So that researcher, Robin Woodall, she looked at over 500 participants in a study that showed that their metabolism stayed high and they didn't lose any strength after taking this on, which is something you commonly see with diets. As people lose muscle tissue, they lose lean mass, and they lose strength. But that doesn't happen with HCG. And you never feel famished because you're absorbing thousands of fat calories. So it's like you're on a 2,000 calorie diet the entire time, except instead of it all coming from food, part of it is coming from that stored body fat. Now, this allows us to lose weight safely, but very quickly, losing 25 pounds or more in a 6-week period. The average person loses 25 to 40 pounds in 6 weeks, though we have studies of people who have lost 60 pounds. So this allows you to make weight loss a sprint instead of a marathon. And as you know, if you're on the marathon version of weight loss, it takes forever and it becomes your whole life. It's like all consuming. Plus, there's so much more opportunity for you to fall off and things to go wrong. So this secret weapon is unlike any of those diets out there or exercise programs because none of those things tap into hormonal functioning like this at all. And so you guys might be wondering, well, what is HCG's purpose in the body? It's made only during pregnancy, and its only purpose is to liberate stored body fat to ensure that a developing baby gets fed even if the mother is starving. So this is a very primal response. So if mom was running out of food and wasn't eating for days, in a normal state, her thyroid would begin shutting down and that baby would die. But with HCG, it keeps thyroid functioning high and allows that fat to come out so that the baby gets fed. In the case of people wanting weight loss, there's no baby there to eat the food. It's you. You get to eat that stored fat up and get rid of it. So guys, here's the thing. You need to put into place hormonal rebalancing for weight loss and weight maintenance. The thing is, if you don't address your hormonal imbalance, it is going to seem extremely difficult to lose weight and even harder to maintain the loss. So some symptoms of hormonal imbalances would include, if you're a woman, things like menstruation issues, vaginal issues, definitely sex drive issues in both men and women, and skin issues, which can range from acne to premature wrinkling, as well as hair loss, hair changes in both men and women, nail changes. And then, of course, one of the biggest giveaways is energy issues. So fatigue, low energy in the afternoon, issues with memory and recall, issues with problem solving and mental sharpness, and anything that you were doing on that integrity checklist that wasn't in balance, that's what's going to contribute to these things. So HCG can help with all of those imbalances. And it also helps you cut ties with emotional eating because you actually get to relearn what true hunger feels like. And when you are choosing to eat for reasons other than hunger, you can interrupt that right away to break the cycle because it's so black and white. And it isn't hard on HCG because it's liberating so much stored fat for fuel. You don't experience that panicky low blood sugar called hanger, which is like that mixture of being hungry and angry. And I have news for you guys. If you experience hanger on a daily basis, you are actually never using your stored fat as a source of fuel. You're only living off of your blood sugar. And if you keep doing that, you're never going to tap into your body fat and start burning it up. So that's something to think about. And now, why is the secret weapon so secret? The thing is, it's actually not. It is widely used all across North America. Like I said, it's like nothing else out there, and it's been around for almost 100 years, since the 1920s. But the sad truth is, it isn't more widely used because it works. There are no maintenance programs or pills or meds that you can put people on. Once people do it and all the weight comes off in a permanent fashion, there's no drug or solution that you can keep them on. You can't make them come to meetings for the rest of their life or count points until they die. Like, that's it. The weight is gone. The other thing is, because HCG is natural, it cannot be patented by the drug companies. And if you can't patent it, you can't profit largely off of it. And if you can't profit off of it, there is no major funding or income to do clinical trials in a large scale level. So the thing is, the only people who are using it are those who are innovative enough. So independent weight loss clinics and clinicians, universities, and researchers who are actually looking into it and tracking the success rates and the effects of it. So this is a safe and natural glycoprotein that is approved for use by both Health Canada and the FDA. But the thing is, you can only get it through a medical doctor who provides you with a prescription. It is not available over the counter. Anything else that you do, like buying it directly online, is very sketchy and probably fake. So I myself would be way too freaked out to buy that because I wouldn't even know what's in it. And furthermore, if you're not taking real HCG and you're just starving yourself to death, that's going to further mess up your hormones because you'll be lowering your thyroid functioning. And here's the other kicker. Unless the medical doctor you're speaking with is specifically trained in weight loss, they won't prescribe it. So if you're just speaking to a family physician, they do not have additional training in weight loss, which takes many more years of education. So it would be like asking your family medical doctor for very advanced psychiatric drugs or very advanced endocrinology drugs. You don't do that. You go and you see a specialist to get those things. Am I right? So if you're just thinking that you can go back to your family medical doc and ask for a prescription for this, it's likely not going to happen unless they have that additional training in weight loss. But the thing is, you need to get it from that specialist who does weight loss, and it will really make all the difference to do so. Okay, so in terms of the safety of HCG, it's considered very safe for the right population. So these are the people who are contraindicated, who should not be on HCG. So anybody that's had a heart attack in the past year or a history of cancer, a personal history of cancer, as well as diabetes or an autoimmune disease with a current flare-up. These people are not in a safe place to use HCG. Of course, if you're pregnant or breastfeeding, it's not indicated to do a weight loss program. And if you're vegetarian or vegan, HCG just won't work for you because you need animal protein to reset the hormone leptin. Of course, if you're in any kind of acute psychological condition that's flared up, it's not an ideal space for you to be in to take on something of that nature. And if you're unwilling to give up your emotional addiction to food, it's simply not going to work for you. And I also want to share with you that HCG does not impact sex hormones negatively. It simply gives them a break from the daily onslaught of inflammation from leptin and from being overweight. HCG is not a hormone. You might mistakenly hear it being called the pregnancy hormone. It's not a hormone at all. It is simply a glycoprotein, so a piece of protein with sugar attached to it. And it's been shown to be safe for both women and men. In fact, HCG has been used on men since the early 1900s for a variety of hormone rebalancing conditions. And just to remind you, the only role of HCG is to prevent a baby from starving during pregnancy by its effects on the thyroid and the mitochondria. It is not a hormone. And now I'm always surprised that people are a little bit wary of doing stuff with respect to hormones, and they're afraid of what that might do. But I want to remind you to go back to that integrity checklist to tell you that you actually are the most powerful balancer or imbalancer of your own hormones. So if you're eating foods that aren't whole, if you're not sleeping enough, if you're stressing out, that by and large is going to mess up your hormones way more than anything else will. And the other question to ask yourself is, what is more safe? Being on HCG for 3 to 6 weeks to reduce your weight, which we know is a very safe protein, or being overweight for years, which causes a whole variety of hormonal problems and inflammation, plus raising your disease risk. So that's some food for thought. I want to share with you guys the case study of Jen. So now Jen, she came to me, she had tried multiple diets. She had a stressful life. She's a mom to 2 young boys under the age of 5, and she runs her own business from her home. And she came to me wanting to lose 40 pounds. She was starting at 280 pounds, and she knew that if she continued down this road, she would end up with diabetes or heart disease or cancer, because all of that stuff ran in her family. Or that she would show up on the show, My 400-Pound Life. Now, she had tried all kinds of programs very diligently and would only lose like a half a pound in a month. She was super committed and willing to put her head down and do the work, but the actions she had been taking were ineffective. And because of all those diets she had done, she kept going into starvation mode and messing her metabolism up even more. So the one major change we made was to get her on HCG to reprogram her hormones. Now, she lost 26 pounds in the first 5 weeks. When we checked in at the 30-day mark, she said this: brag time. I've been on this program for 30 days and I'm down 26 plus pounds. This is the only thing that's ever worked for me. I cannot believe it. And now I want to share this. A few weeks later, she writes 52 plus pounds down. Woo woo! And I want to say to you that a week later, she was down 55.6 pounds in a 9-week period. Now, that's astounding. So that's somebody who had a lot of weight to lose, and I'm confident she's going to lose 100 pounds in less than 6 months. But what about somebody that is of a normal weight, but the excess weight just won't come off? When I look at the case study of Amanda, her weight hadn't budged in almost a decade. And in fact, she was gaining weight insidiously. Everything had begun going downhill for her since she had done fertility treatments and the hormones had messed up her system. When she came to me, she had been exercising like crazy every single day, restricting her caloric intake to 1,200 calories a day with no results. So she started at 147 pounds with a goal to lose 15 pounds. And within a few weeks, she was already halfway there. So here she says, well, I went on a date with my husband to the movies and I didn't even crave the popcorn or nachos. I had a small Diet Coke and I didn't finish it. My pants are fitting amazingly and I've lost 7.3 pounds. People are starting to notice, and I actually bought 3 new bikinis, and I didn't want to cry because I felt awful, but cry because I knew they would look amazing on me when they arrived. I'm proud of myself, and it feels great. I'm so happy to say she dropped from a size 8 to a size 2, and the dress that she had set as her goal to be able to fit into by the end of our program is now way too big for her. She completed the program a month ago, and she has maintained her new weight of 120 pounds, and she feels fantastic. So that was a 27-pound fat loss or weight loss that is now permanent for her, which is awesome. So just to sum up, what we just finished talking about was the use of the secret weapon, HCG. So I was working at an anti-aging clinic with a registered nurse and medical doctor, and they were the ones prescribing HCG to our mutual patients. And I was just mind blown at the results the second group of people got because they were using this. It expedited their weight loss process. They put this problem behind them in a matter of weeks or months instead of years. And that's what allowed me to see what was available and to use this myself to get the astounding results that I got.
So we just got done talking about the secret weapon of HCG, and it's really important that you get that there are so many political things at play when it comes to it. Because it's a natural substance, there's no profit that can be made off of it, right? So nobody's going to funnel a lot of money into research. The only places that are doing research are clinicians like myself and other clinics across North America, as well as universities. But you're not going to see large-scale studies on it. Yet, it's a very, very safe molecule, it's naturally occurring, and it's been used for almost 100 years. Not to mention, it's FDA and Health Canada approved. So I hope that all makes sense for you, but just be warned, if you go onto Dr. Google, you're gonna see a lot of poorly informed opinions because a lot of people just don't know the actual physiology and biochemistry behind how it works. But in short, it's an override molecule, right? So it allows you to go into a caloric deficit while keeping your metabolism high and burn off body fat in the process at an expedited rate than you would normally. So just to do a recap of the 3 shifts that we've discussed so far, we talked firstly about reclaiming your power so that you have the right mindset to achieve weight loss. And then we spoke about embracing true hunger as a means to free yourself from the hold food has on you, and most importantly, to reprogram your leptin so you're no longer storing unsightly fat. And we just got done speaking about how to use the secret weapon of HCG. Now, this brings us to our 4th and final shift, which is to find a mentor. Nothing will get you results faster than an expert who does this all day long. Having a mentor and coach to personally guide you and hold you accountable greatly increases not only how much weight you lose and how fast, but how much weight you keep off years later. So studies repeatedly find this to be true, including from Harvard Medical School, that having a mentor or coach leads to double the amount of weight loss versus doing it on your own. And when they look at the weight that you regain 1 and 2.5 years later, those with a mentor are likely to have kept off 94% of the weight, if not more. So a mentor is somebody who can guide you and coach you through a weight loss program and has the expertise and the track record to do so, right? This is what creates the difference between people who are do-it-yourselfers and keep getting crappy results and they're floundering and they're getting flustered and frustrated because nothing's working, and then eventually they become so cynical and jaded they throw in the towel completely, versus super empowered women who are like, I'm done with this problem, I'm gonna move beyond it now, and I'm gonna do what it takes to get that result, right? Think of yourself as an Olympian. Do Olympians, do they do everything themselves, or do they hire coaches to get the results that they want? How is your body any different? How is your health, your life any different from that? Now, when it comes to a mentor, you want to find someone that you resonate with and invest in that relationship. And you want to look for somebody who has a track record of results, because talk is cheap and results matter. I say this because too many times I get on the phone with women. Remember, I've spoken to hundreds and hundreds of women at this point about weight loss and where they've been stuck and what has stalled them. And one of the biggest problems that I hear is they found someone they resonated with, they worked with them, and it was all about like talking and talk therapy. Maybe at Herbal Magic, they loved going and speaking to their coach every week. And they got along, but they never lost the weight, or they lost a smidge of weight and they never kept it off. So it's not just about connection, it's also about results. And does that person have a proven track record of success with their clients? And what I want to say here about intuition and logic is that it's a mix of both. It's really important as women that we begin to use our intuition again, especially with relearning our bodies and what our bodies need from us. But it's also a mixture of logic, which we're all used to. It's quite common in this world. You want to make a choice in choosing a mentor that feels intuitively right and is also logically right. So it's appealing to both sides of your brain. Now, a good mentor will provide you with the accountability you need to make sure you don't fall off track and that you secure your results. And a great mentor will surround you with a community or a group of empowering women, a sisterhood that will cheer on your success and who get what you're really going through. And again, the reason why that's important, studies out of Harvard Medical School show that community-based weight loss, or weight loss with a community component, is actually much more successful and much more sustained. So let me ask you a question, and it's gonna sound a little facetious. Would you do laser eye surgery on yourself? I bring this point up because so many women try to do weight loss on their own unsuccessfully, and then they get these same ineffective results. So there's no escaping cause and effect, ladies, especially in science, in biochemistry. Expecting to be your own expert and get yourself phenomenal results in a short amount of time just doesn't make any sense. Now, I think because we made ourselves fat in the first place, we also feel like we should be the ones to make ourselves lean again. But this fails to pay respect to how much complication has occurred with the imbalanced hormones. And now the older you are and the longer this has gone on, the harder it's going to be to undo it on your own. It's the same thing with like heart problems. Like, you're not going to hit the age of 60 and then expect yourself to undo all the arterial plaque in your heart. You're probably going to go seek out a bypass or an angioplasty, am I right? And really thinking about it, we hire dentists to take care of our teeth. We don't even trust ourselves to fully take care of our teeth. We have to see a dentist twice a year. We hire OBGYNs to deliver our babies, a very natural process of birth that we've been doing for millions of years, 250,000 years as human beings, and we still hire that process out. And we hire out laser eye surgeons to fix our eyes. But yet, we expect to be our own experts when it comes to weight loss, which is no less complicated, hormonally and biochemically speaking, than anything else that I'm mentioning. And somehow we think that we can untangle ourselves from the hormonal mess that we've created. It just doesn't make any sense. And if you're thinking to go back to that integrity checklist that I showed you and correct your sleep, your nutrition, your exercise, your stress, and make everything perfect in order to lose the weight, you can do that, and it takes on average 10 years for that to work for weight loss. And I share that with you because, is that really the result that you want? If you're going to be doing a do-it-yourselfer, do you really want to spend 10 years on this, or would you rather spend a 6-week chunk taking off 25 pounds and repeating that process as often as necessary to take off another 25 pounds? It just doesn't make any sense. Being cheap on our health for sure is ineffective and possibly almost also dangerous. It's interesting that most women will spend more money on a kitchen renovation, on a car, even on a family vacation for a family of 4 than they would on their own health. When really, without having health and a healthy body and healthy weight, you really can't enjoy any of your life to the fullest. And how harmful would it be, really, to just take one staycation this year and instead divert that money to yourself and getting the results that you've wanted for so long? My question to you is, isn't it time to stop throwing your health and your goals and your body under the bus? Like, when is that going to come to an end? It's critical to put the oxygen mask on yourself before you can help anyone else. And that's the important piece here, is getting the body and the health that you need to be of service to other people in your family, in your community, in your career. So on that note, I'm going to go through highlighting the old way of weight loss versus the new way of weight loss, just so you can see, pictorially speaking, how crazy this is. So in the old method of weight loss, you're probably getting a lot of unqualified advice from girlfriends or telling you how to do things. You're probably buying a million books, half of which you don't finish or just sit on the shelf collecting dust. You feel good when you buy them. You're like, oh, I'm working on this weight problem that I have, but then you don't get anywhere with it. Likewise, you're looking at billions of magazines, looking at different workouts, the perfect butt, the flat stomach workout. None of that's working. Maybe you hire a trainer like me and you're going blue in the face at the gym, sweating to death, working yourself to the bone, seeing barely any weight changes. Maybe you're restricting your calories like crazy, only to later binge because you've been holding back on food for so long, or to be jealous and angry of your family members that eat more than you. Maybe you're listening to all this crap on YouTube and Twitter and Facebook and you're trying to find something that fits you, but none of it is qualified or tailored to you, or even using Dr. Google, right? Or maybe you actually talk to your medical doctor and ask them what to do. And this is my favorite one because they've only got about 4 hours of nutrition training and they're just going to tell you, eat less and move more. And you're like, yeah, doc, but I've been trying that for years and it's not working. So you're doing all of that and you're doing it again and again and again and again, and you're expecting it to lead to the result that you want. It just doesn't make any sense. And none of it addresses the underlying problem of hormonal imbalances. Now I want to contrast this against the new way of weight loss. It's so much more streamlined, so much more elegant, so much more effective. And really think about the impact that last slide I just showed you has on your mental bandwidth and how spent up you're becoming mentally, emotionally, energetically, probably physically, by trying to do all of that crap again and again and again and not getting anywhere with it. In contrast, now, you can look at investing in mentoring with a weight loss expert. So somebody who specializes in this. Have a bespoke plan designed to rebalance your hormones and lose the weight. Follow your hormone reset protocol to the T for a short period of time, like 6 weeks, and then lose the fat and get your life back. How much simpler would it be to sprint to the finish line versus having a marathon? And if you saw daily results, daily weight loss, daily changes in physique, daily changes in the clothes that you wear, or the way your skin glows, or how lean your face and neck look, if you saw something every single day for 6 weeks, would you not want to power through and sprint through that and get the result once and for all? So really, this is a recap to sum up that fourth and final shift to find a mentor. A mentor is someone that can help you get better results in less time. Now, when I created the Goddess Body program by myself, for myself, I used 3 mentors to help me get my results. I used 2 people that I worked with clinically, a registered nurse and a medical doctor, and I hired a mindset coach to keep me on track. And that investment that I made in myself, which was over $4,000 at that time, has paid me back tremendously to this day. And the return on investment in what I've been able to do with my life and who I've been able to be has been so tremendous. So ladies, today I promised that we would talk about how to lose that stubborn extra 15 pounds or more in 6 weeks or less without exercising like crazy or starving yourself to death, and how to get your goddess body even if that's never been within your reach before. Plus, we got into how to finally get your energy back all day long and beat the afternoon crash without caffeine or sugar, which is something that you get by rebalancing your hormones, and be more productive at work and home and get your free time back as a result. Not to mention, we went over how to get rid of those fat pockets that just won't budge, those leptin responsive sites, and how to look and feel like a queen in all aspects of your life, and how your weight, your physical body, and the way you feel about it, most importantly, really impacts the rest of your life. So here's what you need to do to lose the weight. Number one is to reclaim your power. Realize that you're in control and you can do this if this is what you really want. Number two is to embrace true hunger. So respecting your actual physical body and its needs versus just stuffing your face with food when you don't really need it. Number three was to use the secret weapon of HCG to get the expedited results and the hormone reset process in record time. And number four was to find a mentor, someone that can guide you through this process, get you double the results in less time, and help you keep those results for life. These 4 shifts alone are enough to take off 25 pounds in the next 6 weeks. So ladies, now you have a choice. You can take all of this information and just put it on a shelf in your mind and never do anything with it. You can stay stuck at this weight, or worse yet, you can keep gaining weight over the years despite your hard efforts, or even become so cynical that you stop trying altogether and become a shell of the woman that you were meant to be. You know, you can keep depriving yourself of the life that you want because you're overweight. And I just want to remind you that doing this, that just gathering information and taking no action, that's like putting a Band-Aid on cancer. Or there's another thing you can do. You do have a choice. You can actually take this information that you've gleaned today and you can be actionable with it. You can put this into motion. You can put these shifts into motion and lose the weight in a fraction of the time. And I want you to know that women have even just done the 2 shifts, have called me and told me they lost 25 pounds in 2 months just by not emotionally eating and getting their mindset in check. So look at that. You can put these shifts into motion and lose the weight in a fraction of the time. You can rebalance your hormones, get your energy back, and get your life back. If that sounds like something you want, here's what I've got for you. Here's how I can help. I gave you these 4 big shifts, but the truth is, everyone's journey is different, right? That's why I said to work with a mentor, because they can make this a customized journey for you. You need to know how to apply these 4 shifts to your own needs. My team and I have set aside time in the next week to speak to you personally about how you can apply these ideas to your weight loss journey starting today. And the cost is absolutely free. But here's the catch. This isn't for everybody. This is for women who are decisive action takers. The time is now and you know it. You feel ready and hungry for results. You're ready for your goddess body and you're ready for the lit up life that comes with it. And this is for family-oriented women with a stable source of income who are passionately giving back to the world through raising their family or through their careers or through both. And you see it as your time now to focus on you and to invest in yourself because you get how powerful that is. On the call, we're going to get crystal clear about what's blocking you from losing the weight and look at what you can do about it and how you can apply these 4 shifts to your journey specifically. And if we're a fit, we may invite you to join us for the Goddess Body program. Because the work that we do is so customized and bespoke, we only take on 3 to 5 clients per month because we're there with our clients the whole way. So I can't guarantee that we have space, but we will tell you how to customize these shifts to fit your needs. Now, really, really important, who this is not for, okay? While I wish that I could help everyone with weight loss, while I wish I had discovered a global cure for the weight epidemic, I haven't. So here's who this program and this call, this free discovery call, are not for. People who are vegetarian or vegan, we utilize animal protein as the #1 evidence-based method of resetting the hormone leptin, animal protein and animal fats actually. So it just won't work for you, and it would lack integrity for me to recommend our approaches to you. It's also not for women who are pregnant or breastfeeding, because your focus right now is on sustaining another life, and that's really a priority. And for people with a heart attack or cancer in the past year, or an autoimmune condition in a flare-up, it's not appropriate right now, because you should be focusing on triaging the situation and dealing with these concerns. As well, if you have an eating disorder or an untreated psychological issue, it's going to impact your success rates, and I don't recommend that you take on any kind of nutritional changes without working with a psychologist or psychiatrist. Also, this is not for women who are searching for a magic bullet. And if this isn't important to you and you're not committed and you're unwilling to invest in yourself, whether we work with you or not, the things we're going to suggest on our discovery call are going to require an investment in time and finances on your part. So if you're not in that space, it's really not of service to you at this point to hop on a call with us. So like I said, these people are not an appropriate fit for our discovery calls, because it's either unsafe or you won't get the results that you want. So out of integrity, it would lack integrity for us to make an offer to work with you or to help you at this point. So everybody, I'm going to have the button pop up now where you can click below to sign up for a discovery call space with us. Spaces are very limited. Like I said, we only take on 3 to 5 clients per month because of our very in-depth support process. If you don't see the button popping up, please head to divinelife.co/apply to book a time that works for you and fill out the application form. Ladies, it's been such a pleasure to share my life's work with you and what I'm most passionate and lit up about. Women's hormones is everything to me, not just because it affects us on a vanity level or a physical level, which is totally fine to want to look and feel our best, but because it actually affects us really, really deeply on an emotional, mental, even spiritual, energetic level. That's why this work is so important to me. And I'm so grateful that you took this time out of your schedule to share it with me today and to let me be here with you. So thank you again so much for being here. I'm going to leave that link up so you can go ahead to divinelife.co/apply and grab one of those spots. Have an amazing rest of your day. It's been such a joy to be here with you. Thank you, and bye for now.